to give more time, reduce the quantity of your work, increase the quality, and give more time to your students to go out and walk in nature and read a book under the tree, and sit down and relax. And I saw some lovely paintings in the Palace Museum, the Chinese paintings, and beautiful mountains, wonderful trees, and one person sitting on the rock reading or meditating. I said, that's the Chinese culture, forgotten. Where are our students sitting under the trees and by the rocks and by the pool? They are all in this doing lights and closed rooms. So I think we should encourage our students to go out and sit. I mean, your university has forest, hundreds of acres of hectares of forest. So students should go out in the forest and learn and read books there, read poetry there. So that's the old Chinese culture. The big landscape and the small human being there sitting under the tree. Our great prophet, the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, where did he get his enlightenment? In the forest, under a tree, sitting under a tree, meditating. So our students need to be encouraged to do that. At the moment, we are not encouraging our students. It's not only students' fault, it's the university's fault, and it's also responsibility of the professors.
Are you aware of an American person called Alan Greenspan? His Chinese translation is called Alan Greenspan. Who was he? He was the chair of the Federal Reserve of the USA. In Chinese way, he was the chairman of the Central Bank of the USA. The most powerful person probably in the whole world. What he said, the Wall Street market would be shaken. Okay? He is an economist. He said a story in his memorandum. He said when he was a PhD student in Harvard University studying economics, he did his studies there only for 1 year. So he didn't finish his degree because after 1 year study of PhD, he was pulled by his undergraduate classmate to Wall Street to open a steakhouse there. Okay. So he didn't finish his PhD, but he said in his 1 year studying in Harvard University, what he remembered mostly and he felt the most fortunate was in every week he had one night to visit a literature professor it's a lady professor, in her house with some other student. And listening to this literature professor explaining the master work of literature. Pay attention. His study was economics, nothing with literature. But then he said after he left Harvard without a PhD degree, he started to work in his whole life for around 40 years on economics with this money matters. And he said, what is economics? Economics is about human behavior, human mentality. And how can you understand human mentality? Not from psychology, but from literature work. So he learned, he benefited a lot by reading literature. I always tell my students here in this campus, if you were a PhD student majoring in economics, would you do that? Should I speak in Chinese? 如果你是一个经济学的博士班研究生，你会每周1个晚上去文学院教授那里听他讲解文学作品吗？会的，请举手。Yeah, I feel, but most did not, because this is not my business. It's literature, right? I am a student of money matters. So we separate, we split, we fragment. So this is the problem. Our education doesn't encourage students to be interdisciplinary. We want you to be expert. And we want you to concentrate on a very narrow field and do something there. And this is wrong. And this is how our society or the whole world has a problem. Because we lack of the type of people who could oversee, who could understand the whole situation. We have a lot of this so-called bureaucratic people. They are all expert on one specific area. They all have a PhD in one area, but they don't know the whole thing. Even you are going to work on banks, you need to understand humanity and you need to know literature.
Yeah, you are asking my advice. Perhaps this evening you should form a group of some professors and some students who are interested in developing the idea of holistic education. And that group comes together, meets, and says how we can bring about some change in our culture. Because this culture of specialization and monoculture of one subject and only one subject has developed over a long time. So it will take some time to change it. So you need to form a small group of students who come together maybe once a week and meet to discuss the idea of transforming educational system from fragmentation to wholeness. From fragmentation to wholeness. That will be the idea. So those of you who are interested, maybe raise hands or get together. Maybe you can invite people to your classroom or your room and say, hold a seminar and say how we create a new ethos, a new understanding, a new consciousness about learning, about life, about holistic education. That will be a step forward. Because this evening we talk about it and then we go home and nothing moves. But nothing changes and suddenly you can say, oh, Satish Kumar came from England, was a nice talk, we enjoyed it and then finished. That's not enough. So I think it would be good to form a small group of students who are really interested in transforming. And you can be the leaders. You are the leaders. Don't think that university is in a kind of fixed jacket or a straight jacket. It is a dynamic university. Your university dynamic, and you're a professor like yourself. So some students and some professors come together and transform education from fragmentation to wholeness. That will be my advice. Maybe there's some questions?
Yeah, maybe this is the time we can bring up some of the questions.
Yeah.
Okay, here is one question. I think it's from a student. He said from the student's perspective, what can we do to become a whole person? Because we don't have an opportunity and environment to receive this kind of holistic education.
So
how can we do?
You don't have opportunity and you don't have environment. So how you become a whole person? By, first of all, being aware, being mindful. We need to know that my life is not wholesome. Be aware. At the moment, people are not aware. And when you are asleep, you cannot do anything. You have to be awake. So first step is to wake up. Wake up. Not stay asleep, but wake up. So be mindful. Be aware that you are living a not wholesome life. Second step is think. How can I make small changes? Small changes, step by step. We say in Europe, the road was not built in one day. You can say in mainland China, the Great Wall of China was not built in one day. It was built step by step, brick by brick, stone by stone. And one stone upon another stone, and upon another stone, and you have a Great Wall of China. So in the same way, how do you do it? You take one step. One step. I walked 8,000 miles. How did I do it? One step at a time. One day, and then hour, day, and in one day maybe 20 miles, 30 miles, Then next day, 20 miles, 30 miles. After 2 years, I walked 8,000 miles. I reached from India to America. How did I do it? Step by step. So don't have a big vision, but the action has to be small. Small action every day. When you say, is my life wholesome? How can I make my life wholesome? Ask that question. You will get the answer. It's from your own heart. And be the change you want to see in the world. Don't blame somebody else. Don't say, it's the university's fault, it's my culture's fault, it's my family's fault, it's my media's fault, it's somebody else's fault. No, you take responsibility upon yourself. I'm going to change my life and make my life wholesome. I will take responsibility for myself. So be the change that you want to see in the world. If you don't set the example, nobody else is going to do anything. So you have to be the example. You have to set the example. And so take step by step, and you will see that life will unfold. Life will unfold. It's very mysterious. It's a magical. Life is a magic. It happens. If you take the step in the right direction, one foot will follow the other foot. One step will follow the other step. And therefore, you will see magic emerging. You will see your life suddenly becoming fragmented to wholeness. So just take the action.
I really encourage all of you, especially the young students in this room, to read, to open the book and read. When I was a college student like you, I still remember I was a sophomore, second year student. I opened the book. I thought that's a big challenge to me. It's written by Dostoevsky. It's called Brother Karamazov.
Yeah.
Karamazov兄弟. It's very thick book and very hard to read. So I read a few chapters. I think this is a very boring thing. Right? Reading now is supposed to be a very pleasant thing, to please myself, to amuse myself. Why should I torture myself about reading this kind of book? Isn't it? So I closed, and then after a while I thought, oh, many people say this is a very great master work of human beings. I should read. So I open again, read a few chapters because I forgot what I read, and still this is very tough, okay? Very hard to read. I shut down again, put somewhere. And by the end of my second year in the university, I picked out this book again. I started to read. I told myself a very simple reason. Most people say this is a very good book. How come I cannot read? It's a proof that I'm very stupid, isn't it? So I should read it. So I started to read. And then I gradually realized this is a wonderful book. So by the end of around maybe 2 months later, I finished reading. So I was so surprised and I was so happy. I still remember that's in a class, okay? Certainly not a literature, right? It's a very boring class. So I read the book. After I finished, so I closed my book and took a look. See which professor or any other classmate noticed that I was not watching or listening what the professor said. Okay? But nobody did. And many students sleep. Okay? And I asked myself a question. Who else in this room could or can or will be able to read Karamazov like me? I don't think anyone can. It's a little bit arrogant, isn't it? But it's such a wonderful feeling. I have read this book. None of you has read it, and I don't think you can read it. Then I asked myself a question. What would that make myself different from all of you? Am I more handsome? Am I more smart? Or am I going to earn more money? To have a bigger house, as you said, okay? To gain more? Probably not. I will give only one answer to my student. There is a only single, very minor difference. That is, I have read Brother Karamazov and you haven't. This is the difference. And there is nothing with a purpose or an interest, a gain attached with reading. Today, our students don't read because they wouldn't care. What is the use of reading this? This is not for examination. I was invited by a high school principal in southern Taiwan to give a lecture to their literature summer camp to the high school students. And I told them, after you, and later, I encourage you to read this famous master work of Hong Lo. You should read it later. And after my lecture, the principal came to me, Dr. Jiang, you have had a very wonderful lecture to our students. Thank you very much. But why did you say so often, my students should read some master work later? I told the principal, if I ask your student to read the master work now, they won't be able to get into university, right? Because this has nothing to do with the examination. He said, yes, Dr. Jiang, I know. This is the problem. This masterpiece of humankind is not for examination, so they won't read. So they care so much what is the direct interest, what would I gain by reading this? How would you tell my student, what would they gain by reading master work?
I mean, you don't have to read Brother Kazamon. You can read Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching. That's a wonderful book, and it's in Chinese, and you can read it, maybe not modern Chinese. I read Tao Te Ching, and I read many classics. You read, education is not about passing exam. Education is about discovering yourself. And when you read something like Lao Tzu or Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or Shakespeare or Confucius or Kalidas or Tagore or any of these great masterworks, you discover who you are. It's a self-discovery. Why you should read? Do you not want to know who you are? In order to know who you are, when you get up in the morning, you need to know, how is your face looking? I need to look, have I shaved myself? Is my shaving clean enough? What do I do? I look in the mirror. And that mirror tells me how I look. So these great masterworks are the mirrors. They will tell you who you are. And they will help you to discover yourself. Be yourself. I read a very old book from 8th century in India, which was taken to Tibet by Shantideva, a famous writer in Sanskrit. He wrote Shantideva. Now that is translated into Tibetan and Chinese and English and all the other languages. But it's the 8th century. So much wisdom there. When I read it, I find myself who I am. So your education is about self-realization, self-discovery, to know who I am. And you need masterworks to know who you are. This is why you should read. Self-discovery.
Thank you. There is a question. Since I graduated from the university, I met a lot of issues, problems in life, such as frustration in working. My family members passed away, and this love affairs with my girlfriend. I would like to ask Kristen, how can you teach us to face frustrations in life, including lost girlfriends? Lost parents, girlfriend.
Why did you lose your girlfriend? If your girlfriend has given you herself, did you respect her enough? Did you love her enough? Did you do what she told you to do? My rule is, my whatever my wife says, I'll do it. And I have been married for more than 40 years.
Still the same wife?
Same not same wife, everyday new wife. My wife is every day fresh. Every day I fall in love. Newly. Because I feel so grateful that there is a woman who is prepared to live with me, this hopeless man. Who am I? I have so many shortcomings. I'm full of mistakes. I'm full of shortcomings. I don't feel that I am really up to her standard. I think men must be very grateful that a woman is prepared to love them. Don't you think? So if you lose your girlfriend, that means you have not really given your 100% love. This is why you lost your girlfriend. Now, and that's only a symptomatic. It's only a symptom. You have not given 100% attention to your life. This is why you get frustration. Frustration comes because you are not loving yourself. You are not giving enough attention to your life. You have to live a life mindfully so that you are every moment mindful of the state of your mind. What is the state of my mind? If you are angry, you should know I'm angry. And then you should ask, how do I get freedom from anger? When you are proud and egotistical and boasting in front of your girlfriend, then you should be aware. And then you say, how can I get rid of this egotistical boasting? Be aware, mindful. And that is a way to love yourself. When you love yourself, you will love your wife or your girlfriend. And then you will love your parents. And what was the parents?
Yeah, his parents passed away.
Passed away. Now, everybody will pass away. You will pass away. Passing away gives you a bit of liberation. Now you don't have to look after your old parents. So they passed away, sad, unfortunate, sad, but we all pass away. One day I will be dead. So that's the good thing. Do not worry about death. Death is good. Being old is good. I'm 77. It's good. I'm 77. It's good. I was young. That was good. Now I'm old. I'm good. I can speak clearly and loudly and candidly to you without being hesitation. I don't have to be too shy, but I'm old enough to bear it. So don't resist. Frustration comes because you resist against the natural process of life. Getting old is natural. Getting dead is natural. So parents will die, you will die, we'll all die. There's nothing wrong with dying. So you need to understand this. In order to remove yourself and free yourself from frustration, you have to understand that parents have died, sad, you are mourning for a few days, and you are missing them, sad, but then you move on. You have to be courageous and you move on. But don't lose your girlfriend.
There is a question from an independent educational worker.
Yeah.
She claimed this way. I understand that I can choose my life. The purpose of my life is to be pleasant and self-sufficient. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to influence other people because I see my neighbors, they care so much about the money matters, the economics, and they are not happy, they are not satisfied.
Yeah. Don't worry about influence your neighbors first. Because if you set good example, then you will radiate. Your smile will influence them automatically. Don't expect your neighbors to change to your liking. Let the neighbors be what they are. But you radiate. Like, for example, you know what radiator is? A heater, radiator on the wall. So radiator doesn't try to heat anybody. It just radiates. It just keeps warm itself. And those who are cold will come to it and get warm. So you be the radiator. You give your smile. You give your influence by just being who you are. Because if you worry about other people, you can't change other people. So you have to change yourself. And that is a good example. Then, second step is to communicate with your neighbor without expecting them to change to your ideas. Don't expect them to change. Just because you believe in something, why should anybody else should believe in it? As Professor said, that here in Taiwan, nobody agrees with each other. So why do you expect your neighbor to agree with you? So just communicate without expecting anything in return. And then, you don't know, something magic will happen. That communication, that conversation, that loving, caring, kind words that you are projecting to your neighbor. They will say, what, you are speaking wisdom, I understand it. So that way you influence, without wanting, without forcing, without expecting, you influence them. And then, find some like-minded people who agree with you. Yeah, there are people who think not just money, 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 economics, 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 but life, nature, conservation, environment, sustainability, reading good books, having holistic education, going for a walk. There are some people, friends. So get a group together and work with them. And then organize those things. And you say, we are going for a nice walk to the woods. Who would like to come? Maybe your neighbor will come with you. Just give some good ideas, good project. Don't try to change just by words, but by some action. So you could say, we are having a picnic lunch in the forest, and we will cook some on a real fire. There will be a real fire, and a picnic lunch. Who is coming? Tell everybody that you are doing it. Somebody will come, your neighbor might come, you never know. Be ready for surprise. So be very gentle with your neighbor and don't try to force them to your ideas. And then, in a subtle way, they will be influenced.
Very nice. You mentioned the 4 parts that we should educate. One is our true brain, and the hand, and the heart.
Yeah.
There is a tough question. How to educate our heart? This is the question.
If you educate your heart, you will never fall out of your girlfriend's life. Heart is about feelings. And you have to train your heart to develop a sensibility. Sensibility, which is to feel and not just think, because lots of relationships break down. Because we think, we argue with our brain. We don't feel the other person. We don't feel our friends. Therefore we fall out of our friends. We don't feel our neighbors. We don't feel other people's sensibility and other people's heart. And therefore, how you educate is that professors and students together, they say, we will allow some time in our classroom to talk about and learn about how to develop feelings, how to develop relationship, how to develop kindness, how to develop compassion, how to develop friendship. Friendship is the most wonderful thing which comes from the heart. Friendship doesn't come from the brain. Friendship comes from the heart. How do you develop friendship with other people? And friendship with your girlfriend, friendship with your parents, friendship with your neighbors, friendship with your professors. Friendship. So that is part of education. I think professors and students should allow time. I mean, in our college, Schumacher College, we allow time for exchanging feelings and developing feelings and knowing how to develop feelings. There is a whole science, psychological science, spiritual science, how to develop compassion. This is not something impossible or unusual. But our education system has become so reductionist and specialist that we measure everything and we calculate everything and we analyze everything. And feelings cannot be measured. They are beyond measurement. They are about meaning of life. And the meaning comes from the heart. And so I think in the classroom or with your students together, allow some special extra time to develop heart qualities. And together, brain and heart develop together, you'll be more powerful. Every student will be more powerful if they have a developed heart and developed mind together. If you have only brain and no heart, you will not have power. So if you want to have powerful development of your personality and influential, then you have to develop your heart. Heart is very, change of heart. You said about previous question, how do you influence neighbor? By heart, not by mind, not by argument, but by feeling, by respecting, by doing things. That's a Gandhian way. By doing something for them which does not require forcing your ideology on them, but looking after them, helping them in some way. And that way you become friends. And that friendship is heart. So allow some time in your classroom to develop your heart.
Your answer reminded me about a tough issue, or maybe a sensitive issue, which is religion. You didn't mention much, but religion?
Religion, yeah.
In your speech, you encouraged us to explore different religions, to see what they say, what we say. And then you tended to tell us we can learn from every religion, and that every religion has something of wisdom to teach us. But I don't think that every religion is the same. They are different. In Buddhism, if you ask us, why are we here today, this evening? Is there a specific cause, a reason, a path leading to us? And in Buddhism, it would say, then you are not a Buddhist. But Buddhism doesn't believe there is a cause, a reason, a path leading to us. But in Christianity, in Bible, it is the other way. Jesus says, I am Alpha, I am Omega, I am the beginning and the ending. Why you are here today, this evening, there is a reason, there is a cause. So apparently, for Christianity and Buddhism, it's different. So how would you look upon this difference in terms of the meaning of life?
There are two aspects to religion. One is what we call rational theological religion, which has different theological belief system, and the other is more spiritual aspect of religion. Spiritual aspect, more or less, all religions have similar approach. For example, love. No religion will say love is not good, hate is good. No religion will say. Compassion. No religion will say compassion is not good and hatred is good or fear is good. So spirituality, in a way, transcends religion or religious theology or religious dogma or doctrine. And so spirituality is more about faith. Spirituality is about more trust. Spirituality is about a relationship. And so I would say that all religions have spirituality. And respecting other religions is good, but you can practice your own religion. If you are a Buddhist, be a good Buddhist. If you are a Christian, be a good Christian. You are a Muslim, be a good Muslim. Where fundamentalism of Buddhism or Hinduism or Islam, which makes it dogmatic and doctrinaire. So be free of doctrinaire religion and go more for spirituality, which is compassion, love, friendship, service, generosity, all those things are spiritual. I'd say learn from all religions, go for their spirituality, how they teach their spirituality. And so the argument you are putting, the difference between, those are philosophical arguments. And you can see something, I can see something in Buddhist philosophy, something different in Christian philosophy, and I can see truth on both sides. I believe in radical pluralism. Radical pluralism, meaning there is no one truth, there are many truths. Like this cup, you can say this is white, but it's also round. And somebody can say it's a hollow, but it's also has. So there are many ways you can explain. A painter can paint a picture of of this. A musician can write a poetry about this, or a journalist can write a news story about this. So the same thing, you can look at it 10 different ways, 100 different ways. And so the reality is seen by Buddhism in one way, Christianity in another way, Islam in another way, Confucius in another way. So there are many different ways of seeing the world and interpreting the world and making sense of the world. And so they all have something in it. We don't discard, we don't say you are wrong, I am right. Buddhism is right, Christianity is wrong. I don't say that. I say this is one way to see it, that's the Buddhist way. There's another way to see it, the Christian way. Another way to see it, Hindu way. They all have a different way of seeing the world. And so radical pluralism, I believe. And that way you don't get into conflict with religions. You don't condemn any religion. Say, okay, you see that way? Interesting. I see this way? Interesting. That's it. But what is really matter is, are you compassionate? Are you kind? Are you friendly? Are you generous? Are you have a sense of service? Have a sense of the sacred? These are the values which are eternal and universal. And there is no conflict among religions.
I agree with you. Many people take religion as a way of escape. They believe in certain religion because of probably due to the fact that they are so afraid of death, and they want to have a long life, and they want to have fortune, and they want to get into heaven. They don't want to go to hell. Right? So that's why they take religion so seriously. But I read a French theologian's speech long time ago when I was young. He said, never believe in a religion that you are afraid or you want to gain something. You should believe in a religion which would encourage you and transform you to devote yourself to the world, to serve. Yeah, I think this is something we should learn from all the religions. Yeah. In that way, then we can ignore the difference between the religions. Right? There's one question, maybe also a tough one. How can we wake up people to care about the public affairs?
How do we
wake up people
Yeah.
to care about the public affairs?
Yes, yes. I think Taiwan can teach good way already, because you have got big movement happening. Students are leading the movement. To make people aware of public affairs is to create a movement. How people became aware about the problems with apartheid. Around the world, there was a movement. There was a boycott of South Africa. We don't buy anything from South Africa because they practice apartheid. How did movement begin and the public became aware of the greater cause to end slavery, to end racial discrimination, to end colonialism, to end imperialism, to end Soviet empire? How people became involved? Because you build a movement, and the movement is built slowly, slowly, slowly. You start with 10 and become 100 and become 1,000 and become 10,000 and become more. And so you dedicate yourself and work and join the environmental movement. It's growing. When I started editing Researchers magazine, talking about solar energy or wind energy or environmental other issues, it was a minority interest. Not many people took interest. Now, there are more and more people are interested around the world. Even the United Nations and the governments are becoming interested. And so, have patience, but work every day to build a movement in whatever you are interested in for public affairs. Because people have to, because they are connected with public work and government and business. Because we are all interrelated, interconnected. And therefore, when it affects their lives, they will see that I need to become activists. So social activism, spiritual activism, and environmental activism will lead to interest and lead to movement and interest in public affairs.
Thank you so much. This is the last one so far. Yeah, we still have a few more. This one is not really a question. It's like a solo from a young person. I will translate and interpret in English. Going out is going to spend money, and if you want to save money, so you have to earn money. If you want to study university, that's very expensive. But let me say, it's very cheap to study in Taiwan. And if you want to take some professional training and to do something, but you cannot really make anything out. If you want the Chinese food, it's too oily, and I have a lot of this spot on my face. Then it's a young lady, I guess. And what can I do to improve my food? And can I eat any radish? No. And the mama tell me not to buy anything from the market. And my mama tell me she is hungry, but I will have a dog to feed. And it's not good for me to argue with my mama. So what can I do? Totally lost.
Come to Schumacher College. Leave your mama behind. These questions are related to courage. You have to have courage of your conviction and be prepared to go your way and not always have respect for your mama, have respect for your society, have respect for your elders. Respect is good, but that does not mean that you don't follow your heart. You have to follow your heart. And in order to follow your heart, you have to take risks. And you have to go through some difficult times. When I was 9 years old, I left my mama behind and became a Jain monk. And for 9 years, I was not at home. And then I went around the world. You have to leave burden behind and go on a path of adventure. Don't look for easy solution. Only easy solution I can give you is come to Schumacher College.
I have a similar experience. Last semester, I had a conversation over Facebook that you hate, right? With a student who was taking a course of mine. And she didn't show up in my class. So I met her on Facebook. I asked her why you didn't show up in my classroom. Okay? She said, Dr. Jiang, I'm so sad. I'm in a very low mood. Why? Because I have flunked most of my courses. I asked her, how many courses? She said, a half. In Taiwan, in our university, we have a regulation. You cannot flunk a half of all the credit. In one semester, once, you cannot flunk this twice. Okay. You will be kicked out. Yeah. Okay? So the last semester, she flunked a half. And then I asked her, how did that happen? What would you do? She said, I wanted to go back home to look for mama. Okay? I told her, probably you are mistaken. That's not your home. It's your mama's home. She said, why did you say so? I said, asking your mama and papa, check this house register paper. Is it under your name? No, it's your mama, your papa's house. Yeah. It's not your home. You should grow up. Don't go back home. You should face your reality, your problem here. But to our young people, they always go back home to look for mama. I think that your advice is very good. Go to Schumacher College. Okay. There's another question. In your college, in England, how do you educate the people about the bad or negative side of work and life? About the bad things, negative things of life. And I also met quite a few people. They tend to say everything is good, every person is good people, okay? On the whole world, everything's beautiful, everything's holy. This is not realistic. In this world we are living, there are bad things and the negative things. How did you educate your students about this?
In this world, neither everything is good, nor everything is bad. Things are as they are. Good and bad is to some extent our perception. What may look good to one person in the world may look bad to somebody else. Therefore, you cannot really change the world to start with. You have to change your perception. And then you, as I said before, then you work to create a new world as far as possible as an activist. So I said examples of Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Bangari Mathai, Martin Luther King. Many, many great examples. I'm sure there are good examples in Taiwan, where people have changed themselves and then try to address the bad issues which they thought are the bad issues, like imperialism, like colonialism, like apartheid, like racialism, like sexism. How did women's liberation came? Because there was a time when men thought the women are down, below. They have no, but now it's changing. How did this change come about? Because women stood up for their rights. So people who are oppressed, people who are suppressed and colonized and victims of racialism or sexism or apartheid, they have to organize and stand up. And those who understand that, join them. So even white people, British people joined India's independence movement. Even white people joined the Martin Luther King's movement in America. So people will join you. So those who are oppressed by colonialism, imperialism, sexism, materialism, consumerism, whatever it is that you are against, just stand up and say, I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to be part of this war. I'm not going to be part of this consumerism. I'm not going to be part of this materialism. I am going to stand up for my convictions. That's all you can do. That's what we teach at Schumacher College. To be an activist, stand up for your convictions. Don't be afraid. Even if you have to go to jail, like Nelson Mandela, 27 years in jail, and still he stood up for his conviction. So we teach our students to be strong and follow the courage of their convictions.
Very interesting question. Before I interpret his or her question, I should like to tell you a story. I go to other universities to teach. Last semester, I went to 2 other universities in Taiwan to give 2-hour lectures there on a topic called sustainable agriculture. What is sustainable agriculture? In my speech, in my lecture of 2 hours, I showed them a short film I downloaded from YouTube. The title of the film is called From Farm to Fridge. 从农场到你的电冰箱. It's about the terrible thing of animal husbandry in USA. And by the end of the movie, the speaker said, using your dinner table to demonstrate what you believe, to stop this merciless, this terrible culture of food that is eating meat. Okay? And I told the students in the other universities, I myself am not a vegetarian. But I'm really touched by this movie. I know this kind of thing happening not only in USA, but also in Taiwan and in your country, no matter where you're from. Animal husbandry has caused a lot of trouble to our environment and to those terrible animals because they are in the cage to be eaten by us. They suffered very, very much. For this very simple reason, we should think seriously, stop eating meat. And this question is, I heard that you are a vegetarian. How would you like to encourage us to become a vegetarian?
First of all, if you are not a vegetarian and you are eating meat, try to reduce the consumption of meat. If you can't stop altogether, eat less meat. And if you are eating every day, perhaps eat once every other day. That way you are reducing the impact of your meat consumption. If you are a Buddhist, now Buddhism has taught to be compassionate to all sentient beings. And as the professor said, that factory farms where animals suffer in confined conditions, that is not compassion to sentient beings. That's very cruel. Also, in order to feed one person with meat diet, you need 2 hectares of land. To feed one person with vegetarian diet, you need 1/3 of hectare of the land. Now we have 7 billion people in the world, and the planet is limited. Land is not growing, population is growing. If we have to feed 7 billion people with a meat diet like the Americans and the Europeans, we will need not 1 planet, but 3 planets. Bad news is that we haven't got 3 planets. We have got only 1 planet. Therefore, we need to take care of our land and feed people with grains and vegetables and fruit. And it's more good for our health. Our mental health and physical health is better served by largely vegetarian. Small amount of meat by meat eater. Like you are not vegetarian. I'm not saying everybody has to be vegetarian. Maybe fish is good. If it is harvested correctly, ecologically, locally, in a kind of proper way, and not this mass fishing that goes on in ships, which are more like factories. So I would say reduce your meat diet, and if you are eating meat, eat only organically produced, free-range meat, so that the animals are freely in the fields and they are not confined in a factory farm, and they live good life, and only after they have lived their life, you take the meat with gratitude and with humility, that I am taking your life for me, please forgive me. So that kind of humility would be good. So that way we can move towards largely plant-based diet and minimal meat. And if you are a Buddhist, then I think Buddha taught compassion to all sentient beings. So I am vegetarian, so more vegetarian better.
And when I address this kind of issues to the public or to the students, I was constantly approached or encountered with a tough question. They would ask me, Dr. Jiang, what would, if everyone follows your idea to be eating less meat or eventually become vegetarian, what would happen to those people working in animal industry?
Yes, there are many good jobs which are not being done. We need lots of gardeners, and gardens are not being gardened properly. We need lots of small-scale farmers. We need lots of craftspeople making things by hand, like chairs and other furniture. We need craftspeople who make, like these clothes are made by hand, hand-spun, hand-woven, hand-designed, hand-stitched, handmade, it's not ready-made that you go in a supermarket or in a department store and get it. So there are lots and lots of good work to be done, which can be done by hand. We don't have to, people say, if you stop arms industry, what will happen to people who are working in arms industry? People are working for nuclear weapons, people are working for GM, people are working for many, many things which are not good for the planet. People are working in oil industry. You say, oh, you are an environmentalist, global warming is a problem, but what would happen to all those people who are working in oil industry? The economy will fall down. I said, let the economy fall down and let the planet survive. If the economy survives, the planet falls down, what will be the economy? Therefore, planet is more important, environment is more important, humanity is more important than money and jobs. So there are lots and lots of good jobs which can be done. And we have to find them. We have to create good jobs and not depend on bad jobs.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. But we people nowadays tended to be cynic. We don't dare to say that. And we try to intend to please everybody. Actually, the fact here lying between in front of us is your job may be a bad job. This is not good to your own health, not good to the environment, not to humanity. So you really should change your job if you are working in animal industry. Do you agree with me? I'm serious. And the next one is an interesting question which reflects how poorly our life is in Taiwan. How do we stay peaceful and calm in a busy city where nature is hard to find?
Hard to find, yeah. Cities have an old paradigm design. The urban planning and city planning was considered that nature and culture should be separated. Now, I think we need to find empty spaces in the city, and the planners should say that all those empty spaces should be devoted to trees and gardens. All the cities should grow, like, you remember, I don't know Taiwan enough, but I go to Kyoto. Now, Kyoto is an example of a city which has tremendous amount of nature in the city. There are beautiful nature Zen temples and shrines, Shinto shrines, with lots of big trees in Nara, in Kyoto, in many, many other cities. In the same way, we can bring nature into the cities. And we can even have a garden on the walls, the hanging garden or the vertical gardens, where, we were in the temple.
We have a temple in the city, in our city too.
Yeah. So you can have that. And so bring nature as much as you can and influence your city planners, influence your mayors, influence your architects, influence your builders to keep balance between built environment and natural environment in the city. Because that is necessary for the good health of mind and good health of body of our people. And therefore, exiling nature out of the city is not good. The other thing I would say is that even if you are living in the city, weekends, whenever you can find 1 or 2 days, go out of the city and be in nature somewhere in your forest, where you have a forest. Go out and walk there. I always go out. I live in a small village, so I don't live in the city, but I always walk in nature and by the sea. And that gives me good health, physical and mental. And so, where there is a will, there is a way. If you want to do it, you will find it. Question is, do you really want it? Do you really want to go and be calm and be in nature? Sometimes we have wishful thinking, but we work too hard. I would say my ideal would be that nobody should work for money more than 3 or 4 days a week. More than 3 or 4 days a week, don't work. At least you should have 3 days of weekend. 1 day for home and wife and children and mama and papa, and the other day for going in nature, doing some gardening, growing some food, cooking, meeting friends. Why we work so much? Taiwan is very rich. I think Taiwan is very rich in compared to many, many countries. You don't need to work so hard. Work less and enjoy more.
They don't have to study too much.
Not quantity studies, quality studies, but not quantity. We study too much quantity and not enough quality.
Okay, I was reminded by our staff that time is up. But we have a few VIP people here. Would you like to say a few words? The Director of Education from our Bureau of Education, you want to say something? And Dr. Zhen, you are the Dean of Academic Affairs. No? And Dr. Fan, you are from Donghai University. No? And who would like to say a few more words? Anyone here? If not, let's have a final applause to our speakers. Thank you very much for all of you. 谢谢你们，谢谢你们。
谢谢。这两个可能也就是我们的推生。对啊，他们也会拿着。就是那天我认识的那对，我们还是
那个我们的问卷填好了，我们交到柜台可以换取我们的手工皂1枚，所以大家填好那个就是意见回馈单之后可以拿到回馈，谢谢。